for all kids, you can teach this with really little words. I mean, it teaches beautifully. It's very advanced thinking, but it teaches beautifully with little bitty words. And once you get it, once you get the structure, then you can transfer it to any words you want to. Okay? So, there's your model. You can start with that. And it's just uncanny how beautifully that works. I mean, you can go back as long as you want to. Shakespeare sentences, you know. A math teacher said, diagram it that way. Show them that way. But I kind of like that. I thought that was a good idea to do it, to present it that way. So, you know, subject, gave, action, verb. You know, you gave me a fish. Now notice, you cannot have an indirect object without a direct object. You gave me, you have to have a direct object. Then you might have an indirect object before it. Okay? Now what have we learned? Look what we've learned. I mean, this is intellectual, this is high-powered intellect. We have learned that we think in terms of actions and equations. I mean, how important is that for kids to understand? I mean, if you said to kids, how many kinds of ideas do you have? They might say millions. Actually, they kind of have two. You know, they have ideas that are actions, and they have ideas that are equations. Now, what do I have? 11 minutes. Piece of cake. I mean, let's just look at this a little more. In terms of a writing strategy, what are we going to do if we want to emphasize an adjective? Well, what we want to do is elevate it to a main term. This means move it to the subject complement, because the subject complement can be an adjective. Ooh. So that's where we're going to put an adjective. So when you have an adjective, and that's really what you want to emphasize, where the adjective has the power of the meaning, then what we want to do is elevate it to a subject. See, like, for example, silent is buried in the sentence here. And it is playing a bit part. It's modifying man beside it. And it's just kind of buried in the noise of the whole sentence. Instead of the silent man arrived, we can reword it to something like this, perhaps. The new man was silent. And then right there by that period. So we've elevated it to a main term of thought. Now it's a subject complement. It's put it, you know, as structured as an equation. Not all errors are equal. The worst error in grammar is the subject-verb disagreement by far, and it's very common. The problem with the subject-verb disagreement is when you do that, I don't even know what you mean. I mean, there are some errors that just sound amusing. You know, this is worse than sounds amusing. In this case, I don't even know what you mean. Could be either way. And what tends to happen, we've mentioned this before, is that people match their verb to their object of preposition. So, you know, there we are back to that. I was on a flight and the attendant said this, and I leapt for my pen. Oh, you know, it's excruciating. I mean, once you get to the point that you hear this every time, it's just excruciating. The other one that I've heard a lot recently, this is this new thing. I don't know what's happening. There's a plague of this. Is they match the verb to the subject complement.